The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi, welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. Politically Speaking is a time when we are able to talk to our local politicians, our member of parliament, our member of provincial parliament, and all the various local politicians that are a part of our government here in Grey County. My guest today is Warden Paul McQueen, who's the Warden of Grey County, and it's good to have him here. Paul, welcome.
Well, thank you, and I'm happy to be here. And hello, everyone.
Now, Paul, I'm quite sure that when you ran for election last year as Warden of Grey County, you had absolutely no idea what you would be in for. The last 3 months have probably been fairly different from every other warden's term going back to the founding of Grey County.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I sort of spoke about my vision being 2020, but it certainly wasn't this type of vision. But you look back the last 6 months. I mean, early on, we were dealing with, those fires that were happening in Australia. So that wasn't helping us or affecting us remotely. But from a rural perspective, that Australian fires, and then there was that huge plane that crashed in, I think in Iran, and that was a very devastating situation, and there was other things, and all of a sudden then we started hearing in China with regards to this COVID-19. We were sort of watching, and we were sort of, seeing them build those hospitals, those mega hospitals in weeks, or it was sort of like, holy smokes. And then it started to creep in, and then we heard the announcement with regards to the school was going to have an extension from the March break, 2 weeks past the March break, and things just started to sort of shut down. And it was a whole new experience for all of us, and as myself as the warden and as a mayor as well. Moving forward, we learned very quickly that we were able to start to work remotely to keep the wheels going, and it's very important. The wheels of municipal government certainly couldn't stop, and from a county's perspective, there's social services and all those aspects of people still needing adequate funding, and I will give the federal government compliments. They very quickly they were out there with providing assistance for those that were no longer able to, because of COVID-19, go to work, and we were very much advised to stay home and non-essential travel and wash our hands and all those particulars in play. And then we got, as I spoke to you before, then the province made some changes to municipal government that we were able to start to work remotely on our computer systems, and through the Municipal Act there were changes made. And so as similar today on the forum that we're on, Zoom has become a very, very popular and a very important tool for us to continue that municipal business. And so here we are 3 months later after, I think it was Grey County declared, I think it was the 25th of March. And we're, what's today? It must be getting almost, I'm trying to think of today's date.
Today is the 24th of June when we're taping this. So yes, that's, it's 3 months.
Yeah. 3 months, and the province is continuing to move into. I mean, stage 2. We're in that stage now in the province, and there's only one left, Windsor, Essex, that still hasn't moved to that. And but you know what? It's I think it's been a really quite a learning experience for us. And you know what? The distancing and hand washing is taught as well. And I feel that we're, especially in Grey Bruce, we're very well off in the sense with the leadership of Dr. Era and from the Grey Bruce Health Unit, and we're keeping very safe, and that's I think that has helped our region very well, for sure.
Now, I noticed in the minutes of the most recent meeting of County Council that there is some increased cost that will be borne by the county. Is that correct?
Yes, well, certainly with regards to the PPEs and extra, parts around the whole COVID-19 for sure. There are other areas in our budget that from budget what we're going to say, conferences and mileage and meetings and stuff like that, we're going to have costs down, but certainly on the health part of long-term care and I mean, those are expenses that we can't avoid. We want to protect our staff and our frontline workers and all that. And we were told earlier on through this to keep track of our extra expenses because of COVID-19. And I'm not sure, there's some resolutions that are being circulated around for, possibly can we get some extra funding from the province or the federal government to help offset some of those costs. And, there's been, that discussion. But, those are costs that we needed to spend to protect our people. And so we'll move through our budget process next year and see how we end up at the end of this year. But it's funny, some of our construction projects are coming in under budget. And we've been getting good results in tendering and stuff like that. So, we'll wait to the end of the year to see how it all balances out. And but certainly, our Treasury staff and Director of Corporate Service and Financial part of that is looking after that very carefully. That sort of an update was at our last meeting and we'll see where we end up.
I know that, actually, before I go to that, I wanted to ask you, we have 3 long-term care homes in Grey County, and we've been very fortunate. None of the 3 have had an outbreak. And I think that's a real credit to the staff and to the county for doing the necessary work to keep people safe.
Absolutely, and I again give strong kudos to our staff that have been part of that long-term care facilities and management. They're right away very early in the COVID-19 pandemic. We're shutting down those homes, no visitors. No staff working from one home to another. And as we know, with PSWs, a lot of them were, having 2 or 3 part-time jobs and that type of thing. So no visitors. And, more recently, they were testing everyone coming in every day and doing a screening test and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're very lucky. But I would say part of that being lucky is from the very sincere dedication from our staff to do everything that we could in our power to protect those vulnerable people from being exposed to COVID-19. And as we see other parts of the province and in Canada, unfortunately, there are some homes that were exposed. And, I feel for those people that have been affected by that or members of families that have lost loved ones. And it's very unfortunate. And so we always got to remember those that have lost those people. And but yes, we were again, that goes back to the direction of our medical officer of health, Dr. Ehrer, who was very sincere and very in his instructions of how best. And he's there for everyone, to add or assist in any advice that he can offer. He's there too. And so we've all worked as a team. We've all worked as a team and the public as well. And, it's certainly frustrating for those that haven't been able to see their loved ones. And certainly as we're on today, Skype and other, I know the staff were working hard as best they could to provide that opportunity for the communication still to happen. And we redeployed some of our staff to the long-term care homes to help with that extra weight of all the extra, demands that they were being placed on them. So, it's worked out very well.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we're also concerned about, but as a part of our life, is the tourist industry.
Right.
And we're just on the cusp as we're talking today on the next week is the long weekend for July, and it's going to be very, very different because the town of South Bruce Peninsula has shut down Sauble Beach. There is no beach. I haven't heard anything about Wasaga yet, but I presume that there will be restrictions in place of some kind. And the park, Bruce Peninsula Park, or Bruce National Park, is also going to start opening up. So we're going to get people coming in from out of town. And I know that Mayor Soever from the town of Blue Mountains was concerned about this. And what has the county done about the tourist traffic and the tourist influx?
Well, certainly, again, going back to Dr. Era, I mean, it's always been displayed from him that, still non-essential travel is the best advice. Saying that, we're summer now, and certainly our whole area, is a big part of our economy is based on tourism, right? And people coming to our area, especially whether it's the Blue Mountains through the winter time and all year round. It's a four-season destination now. And ourselves with Grey County and certainly a thoroughfare going into Bruce County as well. There's a lot of people that come into our Highway 10 and Highway 6 as a major corridor that does bring people into Grey County. So saying that, I think a number of different points I will say. Now that the stage 2 has now been opened up for both Peace Region and Toronto, that sort of levels that a little bit more, because if you're in those regions, there was some concern of people coming into our area to get their hair cut, doing stuff like that because of the different stages. But now that's sort of leveled this weekend, so that's helping a little bit there. But certainly, it's summer. Everybody goes to the beach, and we know Saba Beach. I've heard some numbers of 80,000 people. It does attract a lot of people. And you're looking on Highway 10. I know that it goes through Markdale and up through and in through that way. It starts Thursday of a long weekend, but now this time around, the July 1st is on the Wednesday. So I'm thinking you're going to see it. It's going to start to pick up probably today and tomorrow and go right through to next weekend, because a lot of people will take that time to do that. So on the other side, on the tourism side, we have the protocol in place for those that are trying to open up their patios, and from the tourism side, the restaurant side, those businesses. So, they only have such a short window to capitalize on those people coming into our area. And so, there's that balance of that. I understand, camping grounds, short-term accommodations are all booked up. Things are really, like, you go to book a campsite anywhere, and it's hard to, I understand, to find anything. And so people are, I guess it's that staycation, the border's closed to the United States, so people are staying in Ontario. But it's so important that we still, are wash our hands, keep the distance, either hand, soap and water, or disinfecting, and wear a mask if you're feeling, that's the situation you need to do, is wear a mask. Some businesses will not allow you to enter their premises unless you are wearing a mask, right? And so, so there's a lot of education and a lot of part of that going around there. I think right now, in our area, like places like Canadian Tire and Home Depot and stuff like that, they've been open. It'll be almost 3 weeks, on that part. So, they're starting to deal with, that part of open for business. And it's just going to be, as Dr. always has said, is, you have these influxes, and then you look 2 weeks from now of where did that end up? Because it's that 2 week time period before the incubation until you see some. So I think in a sense, it's going to be, there goes my phone. It's going to be watched upon very closely. But the problem is what do you call it? A problem. People are coming. It's summer, and if you're in those other areas of the GTA or surrounding areas, from a mental health part, and also from a part of people just needing to get out to the open spaces, there's just that whole pull and push part, right? So hopefully we can work through it. And is going back to South Bruce Peninsula and their beach, it's going to be a challenge for to keep those people away. As a small side, we have the Eugenia Falls, and we had an accident last Tuesday that a young boy fell and had to be rescued, and so it was closed down. Grace Alba went and closed it down. OPP were watching it. And then we had another situation later on in the week where another individual had fallen from the falls and it was closed. So we're dealing with some of those areas where, people are still out here and they're still going to places. So we try to, hopefully people are realistic and if they, see the signs of it closed, they will certainly, heed or obey those signs. But it is going to be tough for enforcement, by law enforcement, and OPP. And I understand OPP are going to be adding more police officers, but if it's 80,000 people showing up, it's going to be tough.
It certainly will, Paul. I think that's going to be a very, very interesting situation to watch over the summer, because it's not just the Canada Day weekend, it's the long weekend in August, and to a lesser extent Labor Day. So, hey, when we get back in the fall, we'll have a little bit more to talk about. I wanted to move on a little bit to I noticed in reading the minutes or the summary of Grey County Council, there is a new committee called the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So that was brought forward from the mayor of West Grey, Kristen Robinson, our last meeting, and part of the discussion around, and I want to say that there are a number of counties throughout the province that do have agricultural advisory committees, and we know Grey County is made up of a big part of the industry is agriculture, and so there was I guess it's been an interest for, I would say, for quite a few years, and so then one of the like I said, one of the county councillors brought it forward, and we had a very healthy debate, at county council. And the big intent, if you watch, and so it was supported from county council, and so now it goes back to develop those terms of reference. And the big part, I will say, from what I heard from the ones that were in favor of it, were in the sense that agriculture is a big part of Grey County, and just in the sense of having that ability to, if there's new policies or documents or anything to do with agriculture, there's just that opportunity to have a little bit of input from that sector. And I think it even goes to the part of even farmers markets and actually where our food comes. To me, I look at it as very broad-based in the sense of having that ability to have input, and again, it's an advisory committee. It's a part that will allow that two-way dialogue, if you want to say that, in the sense of up and forward to the county. And just something more recently is through the COVID-19, we probably followed through on this, where on the protein or on the meat processing situation, there's a bit of an issue of a short processing, like the capability of processing meat is not there. It could be expanded. So I think that's something that's through another avenue that's coming up, and we've talked about it. I've talked about it through my channel, but other MPPs and other wardens through Ray and Bruce, Huron and Perth, and about can we expand meat processing here in Western Ontario, and that will be good for our region. So there's an example of something that can sort of maybe funnel through that, and it's a huge generator in the province in the sense of dollars and what that each dollar that translates through there. So it's something that, but saying that, we also have to make sure that we're looking at not just the agricultural sector, but other sectors that are in our county. And it was raised that day about the commercial industrial sector and that part as well. So we got to keep our mind. It's just not agriculture. There's other parts, but it's in the sense of a positive versus a negative. We're here to sort of listen and make things. If there's ways to make things better, that's part of what an advisory does, right?
Sure. And I also noticed that we have a new manager at Grey Roots, and Grey Roots will be opening this summer. I'm not sure what the conditions are. I presume there will be distancing required in place, but we have a new manager that's been hired.
Yeah, Jill Patterson, and she was introduced last week at our county council, and she comes from the Toronto region, and I think she originally said she came from Newfoundland. as I recall through her little induction there. And so, yeah, she lots of from her induction to county council last week. She's very enthused, and that's another great asset in our area. That is a great drawer to people coming into our area, but it's a great way for us, or a great way for the county to display its historical part. And she seems really keen on that part, and that's what you want, somebody who's keen, right? And can
Absolutely
and learn and explain the history. And that whole part of Grey Roots is, again, it's a huge asset that we have. And I think it goes back to the days of Dalton Becker and others on county council that had a vision that brought that forward. And we're so thankful now that is in play. And all the volunteers, it draws in so many volunteers, which makes that experience so great. And just something that's going to be coming up in a report tomorrow is, because we are closed, the staff have been preempted. It's on the agenda now, so I can say it. Staff are taking advantage of the closed time, and they're redoing all the floors. So what a better time, because to do, if you're open all year round, how do you shut it? And they need about a month to do that. So this is a great opportunity to move that part up on their budget and doing that. So when it does open up, it's going to have a new facelift inside, and it's just sometimes you always got to keep putting new paint or putting new lipstick on something, right? And it just improves the look and that. So and it will be, there is a bit of a plan. I mean, it's still the early stages yet of what happens with the province. To what extent do we open the Grey Roots? Because again, it's a facility that's owned by the county, and we're still at that no more than 10, unless it's a funeral or a wedding, and you can get to 50. But we're still at that 10, so we're still not there yet in the sense of getting it open yet. But stay tuned.
Yes, it'll be interesting. I know that a lot of the summer events, which are very, very important to this area, personally, actually, the Saints and Sinners event that would have come up this weekend, I'll miss that one, because I am a volunteer for that. And if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever met the Reverend T.A. Stewart, noted temperance preacher, that is my alter ego. So we've had a lot of fun with that over the years, and but not this year. I
know you came into county council. No, there was a group that came into county council.
There was.
And they were demanding, that we should, be careful. And I can't remember exactly what they were demanding, but I know they were very concerned about what was going on at the time. And they were just, that was good. That was very good. And I remember you led that charge, so that was fantastic.
Yes, there was some question of our local politicians being under the influence of the booze barons, and you were warned to guard yourselves against influence from demon rum and all that lovely stuff. It was great fun, but not this year. This year, Paul.
Maybe you guys could do it virtually.
That would be nice. That would be very nice. But I have to say, I suspect that T.A. Stewart's preaching would lose something in the translation, because they didn't have Skype or any of these technologies, and he'd be wondering, what on earth is this? So, but that's the nice part of it. That's the nice part.
Make it better for next year. When you have next year to do, you'll have such a year to figure out how to make it better.
Very much so. Now, over the summer, what's the county council will, of course, continue to meet. Is there a plan to come back in person?
So the staff are sort of looking at an integrated process of bringing some of the staff back this summer or later summer. And then, we haven't got to the part of county council yet. Like we talked about, maybe because the way we're around the horseshoe. And remember, we still need that 6 feet or 2 meter distance, right? And does the mayor come and the deputy mayor work from a remote place because every other seat, or do we look at getting plexiglass in between each section of county council? So that's still being worked through on that part, and certainly from a staff, if things go well, we'll start to integrate, our staff. Some staff have been there. I mean, Kim has been there quite a bit of the time, and I started last county council. I attended the office, and I did my county council from the office at the warden's office, and you start, but you got to still wash your hands, keep the distance. So as far as the office itself opening it to the public, that's sort of the thought of this fall is moving toward the staff, or not the staff, but the office starting to open up for the general public. I know from a Grey Highlands perspective, and probably similar to other municipalities, the same as Owen Sound, is when you get to that point of we're looking at changing our front counter with plexiglass and all that. No different than when you go to Walmart or the grocery store now, you have that plexiglass, and that's just a provision that you have to do. And I'm trying to think of the courts. I think that the POA court will at a certain time, whenever they decide that, which is part of our county building as well, right? And so that'll have to work in tandem as well. And I think it goes back to our first part of our conversation where it just depends how we fare it moving through, especially this weekend. We got to, steady as we go, and it's all about safety and protection, and just remember the first mouse to the mousetrap is not a good situation. You don't want to be right. You don't want to be. You want to. I think that the precautionary side is always good, because then you're steady as you go, right?
Yeah. Well, Paul, I want to thank you for your talking today about the events of Grey County, and I hope that the summer is one that is, dare I say, profitable as a farmer, but you never know about the weather, and that when we come back in the fall, things will have perhaps returned to a little more like they used to be, just a little bit at least, and perhaps we'll even be able to meet face to face.
Well, yes, we're only 6 months through 2020, so who knows what the other 6 months will be like. And just two other points. We have a survey on climate action change, so if you have a chance to fill out from your viewers. And I want to say happy Canada Day to everyone. Virtually, it could almost get my flag out there. It's at the front yard of my house here. But again, very important. We live in the best country in the world. And, go out there and sing "Oh Canada" or cheer or whatever, because it's all about Canada. Happy Canada Day.
Well, thank you, Paul. And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. My guest has been Paul McQueen, Warden of Grey County. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I've been dating someone for a little while now.
The first guy you date in 17 years is a fireman, just like that? You don't think that's weird?
You make everyone around you feel